everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Book Report presented by the Millions. My name is Janet.
And my name is Mike.
As you know, there's a very special holiday coming up in just a couple days. A day when young lovers all around the world celebrate the 43 men who have been president of the United States. So in honor of President's Day, Mike and I are going to talk about some presidential books, biographies, / whatever.
We are kind of dorks, especially when it comes to history and the presidents.
Yeah.
You know, no offense, maybe a bit more so than me.
Maybe a bit. So the first book that I want to talk about, this isn't a book that I recommend, but I read this biography of Benjamin Harrison by Harry Sievers. Edit. I have two favorite stories about him. Number one is that his father's dead body was stolen from its grave. But my other favorite thing about Benjamin Harrison, he was president when electricity was installed in the White House. But he was very scared of it. Like, he was afraid it was going to burn the building down. So the electrician that installed all the lighting, after he was done, Benjamin Harrison asked him to quit his job at the electric company and come work at the White House and, like, be in charge of the lights.
Oh, wow.
So he did. His job was to turn the lights on and off.
Oh, my God.
He would just, like, follow them around to whichever rooms they were using. Turning the lights on and off. That young man was named Ike Hoover. He then was promoted to White House usher. And then Chief White House usher. He went on to serve under 10 presidents, dying when FDR was president, and he was still there.
So Ike Hoover served under Herbert Hoover as well.
He sure did.
Wow.
Yes. And he wrote a book about his time in the White House, and that book is the source of the legend of Taft getting stuck in the bathtub.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that never really happened, Taft getting stuck in the bathtub?
It's very suspect, because Ike Hoover was very opinionated. He also really loved Theodore Roosevelt, and so did not like Taft.
Yeah, they hated each other, right? Yeah.
And so there are lots of other things in his book about Taft that are very negative that have been disproven.
Okay, this one's pretty obvious, and everyone, I think, agrees that these books are pretty amazing. There's Robert A. Caro. This is the first in his series, The Path to Power, the first of his series of books, The Years of Lyndon Johnson, which I love. It's just so interesting. Like, everything about it's fascinating, and you really get to know LBJ pretty intimately. Well, not in that way. Although, I'll tell you my favorite LBJ story, although this was not, as I recall it, in the book, because it's probably apocryphal, but I love it anyway, is that after Johnson left the White House and went back to live in Texas, he was, as he liked to do, speeding around on the county roads, and he got pulled over by a state trooper, and the trooper went up to his car and looked in the window and saw it was LBJ, and the trooper said, "Oh my God," and LBJ said, "And don't you forget it," and then drove off.
Do you know which U.S. president was once fired by another U.S. president?
You know, I can't say as a do.
That man was Chester Arthur. He was the boss of the New York Customs House. It was basically the biggest racket in the land, because
like bribes, I guess.
Yeah, anything that was being imported would go through that customs house, or it was the largest of the customs house.
Yeah,
and he just got to decide how much the tax was. Like, I don't even know. He'd basically just be like, "Okay, like, give me $5,000." You know, and it all went into his pocket. Like, his salary one year was $20,000, but he made $100,000.
Jeez, oh man.
It was just like bribe central, and everybody knew it. It was a federally appointed position, and so it was always given to, like, a powerful politician's friend. And he was friends with Roscoe Conkling, who was like the political boss of New York. And Rutherford B. Hayes was elected and really wanted to clean up all the corruption in the patronage system and all the federal appointments. And so to make a bold statement, he fired Chester Arthur.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is like, it's like going straight for the top. It's like cutting the head off the beast. And then the next election came around, and I think the Republicans, right? Yeah. The Republican Party was split in two because the Conkling faction was still mad at like the reformer faction, so they couldn't decide on a candidate. To get them all to vote for the same candidate, they said, okay, Roscoe Conkling, if you vote for our guy to be the party candidate, you can pick the VP candidate. So Roscoe Conkling said, okay, I'll vote for James Garfield for Republican Party nomination. And the VP nominee is Chester Arthur. And everyone's like,
man,
what? And then what do you know? Garfield gets shot immediately.
Yeah, that didn't take long.
And Chester Arthur became president, having never held elected office. Chester Arthur became president and comported himself well by not being a disaster.
Do you know who the only U.S. president to have been divorced was?
I feel like I've heard this, but I don't know. No, I don't.
It is this guy right here, Mr. Ronald Reagan, who is the subject, kind of this book, The Invisible Bridge. This is one of my favorite books, honestly, and it is a lot about Reagan, not about his presidency, though. It's kind of about his rise from an actor to a conservative activist, to governor, and then to president. It's the third book in this series by Rick Perlstein about the history of modern American conservatism. And the first one was about Barry Goldwater, the second one was about Nixon. This one is mostly about Reagan, also kind of about Ford. Mm-hmm. And it's a fascinating book. It's almost like a biography of the country, like through the conservative movement and through Reagan, at least this one is in particular. Biggest takeaway for me in this was that Reagan did not seem to really have any real hard principles. He kind of was a weather vane. You know, he started off his career as a liberal Democrat and, sort of became a conservative during the McCarthy era. But he was just, he's remembered as this great speaker and this charismatic guy, really funny. But he just seemed like kind of like a vacant guy, like almost a shell of a person.
Yeah.
And which is not surprising, I guess, because, he was an actor, so he was pretty good at playing who everybody wanted him to be.
So I already talked about him, but my friend and yours,
the man himself,
Taft.
Big Bill, as no one called him.
William, I cried at the end of Taft's biography. I cried when he died. He's a dear, dear man. And his life really took a lot of twists and turns, ups and downs. And at the end of his life, his dream came true and he got to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He was just like a really smart, patient, tender-hearted man. Mm-hmm. And became best friends with a megalomaniac who shall remain nameless. But the main thing I wanted to say about Taft is that his best friend after Roosevelt dumped him was named Major Butt.
Oh, I love that.
Major Butt died on the Titanic.
Oh, man.
Taft could not catch a break, including with his best friend's name.
Oh,
Major Butt was also gay.
Major Butt was gay or Taft was gay?
Major Butt was gay, yeah.
Major Butt was gay.
And he died on the Titanic. We wish you and yours a happy President's Day. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll see you then. You'll never walk alone, Mike.
Never walk alone, Janet.